Hi, and welcome to another Type With Me. In this week's episode, I want to talk about Rxjs, DistinctUntilChanged, immutable objects, and why it's important to work with immutable objects, and how this will relate to what you gonna do with that within Rxjs. So, are you with me? Well, let's go. Alright, so I already prepared something. We have here an object, right? And that object exists out of a title. So if we hover over it, you see that it has a title, which is just a string. Then we have a preferences, and it has some links, and it has a boolean. Do we need to render these links or not, or how we're going to render these links, right? So we have two properties which are primitives, right? A string and a boolean. And then we have an array. But like you see right here, it has childs and then again childs. So we have some kind of nested structure there. And I just want to give you some kind of an example how to work with that. Further on, we have an object which is subject. Then we are going to use the pipe DistinctUntilChanged because we want to do or only trigger that when something really changed there, right? And of course, for now, for this example, I just do a console.log with X and Y, and then we do console.log on subscribe. So I'm gonna do something like this, sub, to really make the distinguishing thing right there. Right, and then we can say, okay, I want to do something like this, object.next, and we want to provide the object there. Then we're going to change the object, so we're going to add some links towards that. In this regard, it's just A and B. These are just numbers. These are not really links, but it's just to give you an example. And then we are going to provide that to our object to our subject, sorry, with next. And then we're going to change the title, then we're going to provide it again to our stream, and then we're going to change the links again. So if we do that, you will see what the results will be. So if I do this, then you see here that I have always the latest addition into our links. And why is that? Because we are just listening to an object, t, and t is just changing. And one of the things that you will see is that because it's a primitive, that you will have, first of all, you will have sub, because we are subscribing to it, hello, and we will have X and Y in our DistinctUntilChanged, right? And then you see here, and that's something strange because in our initial proposition, links are just empty, right? But then again, it got something like this. It got an A and a B, 3, 3, so it's strange there. But okay. Then we got hello, then we got something, 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 again here also something, and so we added other things right here, and so at the end we have what we wanted to have right when we update things. Alright, so that's a little bit strange. Another thing that I want to show maybe is changing something towards, or no, not something. I want to change maybe here preferences dot render equals false, something like that, right? Now if we run this, you will see that yeah, it just changes at the end. The latest one, you will take that as false. So if you see right? There is not something wrong with that, but only the latest one will change there. So I'm just gonna put that into comments to get a little bit more of a better overview. So this will give me a little bit better, a little bit better overview. You'll see, not like I said before, that X and Y has the A and B 3, A and B 3 kind of values also right into the beginning, because it all refers to the original object, right? So we need to create some kind of a copy. So within ECMAScript 6, we can create copies by using the spread operator. So you will think like, okay, we need to use the spread operator. So I'm going to use that, right? We're going to put it like that. Right. So here. So here. And also here. Right. Great. So if you now execute this one, you will see that really nothing drastically changes, right? The only thing maybe I need to check something. Also there, hello is just doing great and doing fine, but we still have the problem of having the links changed in our first DistinctUntilChanged, right? So we need to create and make that immutable. Use deep cloning. We need to change or copy the whole object. And what we are doing with the spread operator, it just copies the properties into a new object, but all that what is in that object still stays the same, so it has the same kind of references there. So the spread operator is just not a deep clone or a deep copy, right? It just copies the properties right here. So it's important to know that. Right, so what we can do is we can use Lodash, and within Lodash we can do or use underscore dot deep clone deep, and then we can do this. So now, of course, I need to change that everywhere where we are using this next. You could create a wrapper around that, some kind of a maybe a subject that's doing that for you is a great thing. But again, just bear in mind that you make immutable objects within Rxjs. It's really important. It will improve your code a lot. Of course, it has some kind of a cost there, that's true, but some objects are not that kind of heavy weighted, so creating a deep clone will be okay, right? So if I now run it, you will see here that our first one, the X, just has the normal links, and then the other one has the new kind of structure that it needs, right? So if we now put that out of comments, you will see here that the same kind of thing will happen when we are switching from one to another. So yeah, the last one is the true to false, right? So I'm gonna put that one also into comments, because then we can just look into our final way of working, and then you will see here that the X of course, I need to clone it right here as well. That's true. I hope you saw that as well. And it's important, it's also a reminder that if you don't do it, it will also not work right. So just a little bit of a reminder, some kind of repetition is important there, right? And then of course you see here that our X has just one element and our Y has two elements, and then that's working right. We get the previous object and the new object, and we can very easily see if something changed. If you don't use immutable objects, if you don't do a deep clone of that object, you don't gonna see that, right? So again, to look into the change, if we don't clone it, right, you will see here well, now it's also cloned, but if you don't clone it, we first cloned it and then the last one we didn't clone it, and then of course you don't have any kind of difference there. It just gives you a new one. But again, if you don't clone it, the last one, you get the same kind of object in X and the same kind of object in Y. Again, we're going to clone it. And then of course you see here that one object, and here we have two objects. So deep cloning with clone deep with Lodash is a very important one. Of course, there are other libraries like immutable.js that you can use. It's a little bit harder maybe sometimes to use it like that, but there you just can't change the object themselves. If you want to change that object, yeah, your compiler will give you an error. So to really enforce that people are using immutable objects, you can use immutable.js, because of course, like I said before, if you don't use the clone deep method, well, it will not work. And with this kind of way of working, you don't enforce other developers of your team to really use immutable objects. And when you are using immutable.js, you will do so, right? So if you want to know more about immutable.js, just go for immutable-js.com, and then you will get some more kind of info around that. It also has support for TypeScript, right? That's in my opinion very great. We need that, and then you are just enforcing your end user to use immutable data. When you change something in that data structure, it will create a copy of that, and yeah, you will be sure that something is immutable there.